Hello, welcome back to Heretic Owl Tarot. My name is Liz, and I will be guiding you on this journey today. This is a reading for Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising. Definitely Rising. Sun also, Moon, all of the things, okay? But I'm happy to be doing zodiac readings again, because for a while there my guidance was to focus on the human design profile readings, which, by the by, definitely check out your human design profile reading too, because like not every Libra is a 2-4 or a 1-3 or a 5-1 or whatever, right? So it's just more information for the story to hopefully help. But anyway, so like as I was getting prepared to do these readings, I got this little message about reintroducing zodiac readings this time around. So very cool the energy for these readings being back. So let's get you an oracle card. I keep hearing like a squeaking noise. Like a bird. I don't know. I keep hearing squeaking. I don't know if it's like... But then when I stop and try to listen for it, it's gone. So I don't know what that is. I don't know. Anyway, let's get you an oracle card. Seeing the true you. Number 29. That breaks down to an 11. Love that. I love the little couch or chair that they're sitting in too. It feels kind of vintage. Okay, clearly I need water, so I will get that after after we get your oracle cards out. But there's this coffee cup up here. But why is it so far away? The lily pads. The whole thing with lily pads is, like having to make their way up through murky water. Even too, I don't know if this is specifically lily pads. I feel like it is. I saw this video of how it starts off as this like bulb kind of looking thing that is making its way through the swamp water, like the pond water, and once it gets to the top, it fans itself around to like clear out space for it to unfold. So we had the High Priestess, the Nine of Swords, Wheel of Fortune, Four of Wands, Ace of Cups, one more. But it is like, this idea about taking up space in the world. Or like in your world is what I immediately heard, because because really that is the most important, right? Like your world is the most important place to take up space. We just need one more card. Thank you. The Ten of Wands, and then the World at the bottom of the deck. So let me just make sure everything is in frame, grab my water, and then we'll start talking about you. Okay. So let's see what this Seeing the True You card is all about. Hello? Here we go. All right. So you look at that. I'll read this. Sometimes we believe what others tell us we are, as though the self we see reflected back to us through their eyes is truth. Yet, the accuracy of a reflection depends on the clarity of that which is doing the reflecting. If the receiver forms any opinion about what is perceived, then what is reflected back to us will, at best, be distorted. It is not necessarily through ill will, it is just the mechanics of the situation. Even the moon reflects the sun in varying degrees of fullness and clarity. We can learn something of the nature of the sun from the moon, but not as much as through direct perception. This oracle has come to you because you have been putting rather too much faith in the reflections others have of you, to the point that you might not be honoring all that you are and all that you are becoming because you believe too little of yourself. There may be those around you that are able to reflect you more faithfully and even help you see more of your own greatness and beauty. These are the souls blessed with inner stillness. In the clear waters of their ocean of consciousness, you can come to recognize yourself with clearer perception. However, there are those who have not tended to their own ocean and are unable to be still enough to genuinely receive and reflect your light back to you. There is no judgment here. Each takes the path of self-healing that is available and appropriate at any given time. However, to attempt to see the magnificence of a sun and a very partial moon doesn't make too much sense. As you continue on this journey, you will not only see your human self, but the eternal within you. This is a breathtaking experience that opens you up to creative energy that flows abundantly through all of life. This oracle comes with a special message for you. If you are getting confused about who you are and your motives or actions based on what others are saying or how they are responding to you, step back. In your quest to be a responsible person, you may be unintentionally taking on the feelings of others, making their reflections of you more than they are in truth. I kind of love that. I mean, I really love that. Yeah. I do. I do really love that. It's so interesting because of all of the readings that I've done today, which is also like kind of funny because I'm using my little bowl that I use to pick my order. And it has, all 12 zodiac signs, all 12 human design profiles. And the only one that I picked was Aries. And then I noticed that there were two other sheets of paper, or little, sheets of paper on the table. I hadn't seen them before I picked Aries, and it was Aquarius and Libra. So that's why that's why I'm doing the ones that I'm doing today. But it's so interesting because there's been this recurring theme of a message about not looking outside of yourself for validation when the only place, and truly the only place where you will ever find that is within yourself. And also, even, the book was saying about other people reflecting your light. The only reason that people have the capacity to be able to do that, like it said, it's tending to their own ocean, but they recognize that, again, right? Like everything that they need is within themselves. If they need love, they need to give it to themselves. If they need recognition and validation, they have to find that within themselves. But we're so conditioned to seek that from other people, from other sources, from anything literally outside of ourselves. But If we already have like a low self-esteem or just a low self-worth, a low outlook on ourselves, then we'll really only believe the people who confirm those things that we already believe to be true about ourselves. We won't even hear anything else. And even if we did, though, like, say somebody is like, you are an amazing person, you have a huge heart, you're this, you're that, all of these, things, all of these good things. Yeah, it does feel good to hear those things, but do you actually believe them? If you did, you wouldn't need to hear it from other people. Like, it would be less important, especially for how you see yourself. So, it's almost kind of been like a tough lovey kind of day. So, um, I do love you. It is coming from a place of love. So we start with the high priestess. Speaking of the moon, the high priestess is connected to the moon. She has the crescent moon on her crown there. This card is associated to Cancer, sometimes Pisces. If those have any significance in your chart, they don't have to, but maybe there are people around you in those signs. Again, doesn't have to. The other thing that I was going to mention that I totally forgot is that the South Node is in Libra right now. So wherever Libra is in your chart, right? Like the South Node is lessons that we've already learned. They're the things that like it's our comfort zone. We tend to fall back on. The North Node is where we are reaching to, like where in this life we made a decision that we were going to come here and have, these lessons wherever the North Node is, which again, even like mentioning that, those are nodes of the moon. So again, this attachment or this connection to the moon. There's a new moon, actually, I believe in Pisces coming up this weekend. And new moons are all about setting new intentions. So it could even be moon magic, like, working with the moon, manifestation, again, writing down new intentions. Could be that. I think it's interesting how all of that just kind of came together, and we start with a high priestess. So for me, the high priestess is our direct connection to our star player, our higher self, our soul, our intuition. If you believe in a higher power, like God, source, divine, it could be that too. For me, it's higher self. It is soul. And this does talk about soul contracts. Like, what did you, if you believe in that, right? But like, what did you decide to come here to experience? And of course, if you don't believe in a higher power or whatever, it is connection to your intuition. We all have that. This is a number 2 card. So, it's at the beginning of the Fool's journey. We start with the Fool at 0. Then the Magician is number 1. The High Priestess is number 2. There's even this door back here. She's got some keys on her belt there. So there's clearly there is an opportunity here for you to walk through a proverbial door, maybe even a literal door, but there is an opportunity that's open. Not is opening, it's already open. I don't know why I feel so confident about that, but I do. I think it's also because of course, like the imagery on this card, like that there's not even a door on that. It's an arch. It's an archway, which is also kind of interesting because it's paired with the 4 of Wands. And I was talking about the 4 of Wands earlier being like a rite of passage. Even this, even kind of looking like an archway. So that's kind of interesting, like on a soul level. But the Wands are about action, the motivation behind the actions that we take. It's creativity, passion, what actions are we taking towards those things? How are we communicating those things? I also see Wands as being information, because that's what we get by trying things. We figure out what works, what doesn't work, what do we like, what don't we like. What works, what doesn't, what stays, what goes, right? And truly, the only way to figure those things out is by trying, is by doing them. Your mind isn't going to do that for you. I know a lot of us probably think that. Like, no, I already decided in my head, like I thought about it. No, because I can guarantee you 100% that if you were to try the thing, maybe it will go the way that your mind said, but it's also like it, again, it's information. Okay, I don't actually like doing it that way, but I can try to do it this way. I don't like it in the state that it is, so I'm going to do it in a different state, right? And two, what is so interesting, so the Four of Wands is about celebration because it's like the actions that you've taken have gotten you to this point of security, foundation, comfort, really. Because I was mentioning comfort zone. Oh, I think that with the South Node, I was mentioning a comfort zone at some point. There's also at least 15 candles on this birthday cake. So again, because I was kind of making this connection earlier about, and I'm mentioning it again because I feel like it's still coming out or it's still presenting that way. But, usually around the age of like 15, 16, we have those, well, culturally, whatever, we have those like sweet 16, or it's like things are changing. You're leaving quote unquote childhood and you are entering quote unquote adulthood. So there's this transitionary thing that's happening, right? I mean, usually around 15 and a half, 16, you're starting to drive. Maybe you're starting to get your first job. Like high school is starting to kind of wind down, come to an end. You're starting to think forward, right? So it is interesting. Like maybe there was something that even happened around that time in your life, or even just um, the significance of those, because like I said, both of these things have this rite of passage thing happening. There's this door that's already open, being on secure ground here with the Four of Wands, but maybe even having to step outside of your comfort zone, leave that sense of security, because we don't want to get stuck at four. We want to keep moving, and we do, because we have the Ten of Wands at the end of the reading. So clearly, we do keep moving, which is great. But we move on to the Nine of Swords. And this Nine of Swords to me, it feels like fighting your demons. Truly, like in this card, right? Swords are about our mind. It's about mindset. It's how stories live in our mind. Inspiration, ideas. I see swords as being the suit of ego also, because that's generally where we hear it. We can feel it in our body, but we generally hear it in our mind. And our egos are created by the stories that we've attached to experiences, to feelings, to stories, right? And even like the Oracle card was saying, is there a story that somebody fed you about you that you took on to be true? Maybe somebody told you were too much, too little, too big, too small, too loud, too quiet, too whatever, right? And they might have been an authority figure in your life, or for whatever reason you took it to be a truth for you. And it doesn't even have to be one thing. It's like a culmination of our lifetimes, right? But it becomes the reason why we do things and why we don't do things. That's ego. And that's homeostasis. And that's going to keep us in our comfort zone. That's going to prevent us from actually living authentically. So the Nine of Swords is facing that. And there's really only one way to discover what is true, and that's to decide what isn't true. I feel like I've put like a couple definitives on like these things, but truly, I mean, I guess like for me, because like I guess maybe it's just been my process, and obviously that's what I have to go off of, is like, how I've gotten to the place where I've gotten to with myself, because it was a lot of finding these demons and just being like, okay, what's your story, demon? And is that true? Is that something that I actually believe to be true of myself? I will tell you 9 times out of 10, it was a no. That story was not something I believed to be true. Whether I was the one that said it or somebody imprinted it onto me. And, we're adults now for the most part, right? So we get to decide what is true for us and what is not. So, it's also even, the only way out is in, which talking about this doorway here, this could be an invitation to go within yourself, which is, again, I keep putting definitives, and I don't know why I'm like all of a sudden very much aware of that, but like, I do believe. Speaking of beliefs, swords is also the stuff that we believe in. And changing your belief system, man, that takes work. And again, what are the things that created this belief system within you? So seeing the true, this whole thing is about going within yourself. And it really becomes this empowering thing, because it's like once you decide who you are, nobody can tell you otherwise. They can try, they can say you're this, you're that, good, bad, otherwise. And you can be like, I actually have a pretty good idea of who I am, and either I agree with that or I don't, and I don't even have to like prove you right or wrong about any of it. I love that it is paired with the Ace of Cups. Even look at the moon imagery, the crescent moon energy. So again, there's this connection about going within, and this connection about the moon, which, the moon does represent our emotions, and even just the constant change with that. So the Ace of Cups have to do with our emotions, like I just kind of said. It's how do we feel about ourselves? How do we feel about our lives? How do we feel about what we're doing, the people we're spending time with? What is our relationship to love, right? Like love of ourselves, love of other people. Are we giving people a love that we're not even willing to give ourselves? But again, we're expecting, since we're giving it to them, we're expecting it to somehow come back to us. Again, outside of ourselves. Ooh. Aces are something new. There's this vulnerability in this card though too. Just this openness. The liquid isn't even coming out of her cup. It's not even going into her cup. I guess it could. Like this part up here could be like, okay, going this way and then ending in the cup. Clearly I can't do this backwards, but it does feel like this rush of something, and it would be something new. It could, again, it's like, discovering this appreciation for yourself, discovering some sort of like strength within yourself, even being vulnerable with the quote unquote correct people, because not everybody deserves your vulnerability, and not everybody has a capacity to hold space for that. Speaking of, even going back to the lotuses, like I was saying, this little thing, like it creeps up through the swamp, and then when it gets to the top, it starts clearing things out so that it can unfold properly. But it does that for itself, right? There's nothing else that comes in and does that for it. Very interesting. This really is empowering. I'm laughing because like I hope that it is coming across this way, and also it's like you are so capable of and clearly you are because it's showing up on the table. But we have the wheel of fortune, which is Jupiter expansion. This is Jupiter is in Taurus right now. Wherever Taurus is in your chart, but they're holding this plant in their hand. So there's this energy of creation. There's a spiral here, and spirals to me always talk about evolution, evolving. But the Wheel of Fortune talks about things changing. It's always a good card. I don't care where it shows up. But the wheel is turning. There could be something that is being, I almost said eclipsed out of your life. I mean, I believe there's actually a Libra eclipse. I don't know if it's in March or April. And I'm pretty sure it is in Libra. So anyway, it's interesting that I was going to say it that way because they're in eclipses, it's like being eclipsed out. There's something that would be leaving. Because I'm even thinking of like a wheel, right? Like if there's something that is just like being being rolled up on out. But like I said, the Wheel of Fortune, I always see it as being a good card. There's change on the horizon. If you have been thinking to yourself, I wish things would change. They are. They're going to. Wish granted. And then we have the Ten of Wands at the end. Tens are completion. Again, because I mean, the Wheel of Fortune is a 10. So we have two tens here, which is cool. This is the end of burden. I mean, so like I said, right? Wands, information, it's like life lessons too, because that's information, right? And we can see this guy or whoever carrying that burden on their back. But they're at least in the process of walking. They're not just standing still. Like it's like the energy is moving. So it's taking the experience that you've gained, it's taken the knowledge that you've learned, the lessons that you've learned, and it's moving forward. And what could be changing is whatever burden you have placed on yourself. That's what's going to be changing with the Wheel of Fortune and the Ten of Wands. And especially with the World card at the bottom of the deck, this is a true end of a cycle. There's this, infant in the womb type of thing. There's this person kind of looking through this keyhole looking thing. Again, just this energy of like incubation for one, right? Is that the word? Incubation? It could even be like inner child stuff, reparenting yourself, like literally seeing your inner child, your experience from a different perspective. And that's what is creating the change or the closure. The world is closure. But the world is also like the purpose of the world is so that a new cycle can begin. So whatever this infant represents can be birthed. And it's almost like, this person has just been open, like, just been waiting for the right time. And it's like, here it is. The time is now type of thing. We have the Hanged Man. which is about suspension. It's seeing things from a different perspective, which also talks about enlightenment, this card. But it is, you know, the purpose of being in suspension is so that you can see your experience, yourself, in a different light. You know, if this card was upside down or in reverse, then we would see that, you know, the perspective is correct now. There's this house over here, there's this road or this path, you know, going to the house. There's these two crows here. It could even be the perspective of your life could be changing, or how you perceive it. Beautiful. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for allowing me to read your cards. I will talk to you soon. Bye.